What's up, everybody? I am back. Sorry for taking 2 weeks off. I just got a little busy. But today I am back with someone who I have been friends with for a long time, someone I've admired for a very long time, someone who's like a little sister, sometimes like a big sister, but one of the greatest athletes and one of the greatest human beings that I've ever had the chance to watch and to meet. Everybody, welcome Candace Parker to the Y.
Thank you, D. I'm so happy to do this with you.
Thank you. Excited. I mean, I can get Barack on the phone quick and
I know you're not talking. You listen, you international, traveling all around the world, waving at people, kissing babies.
Waving at
people, kissing babies.
Not waving at
this
people.
This is wild. Getting holes in one. It's wild.
I'm just out here. I was just waiting to get this opportunity to sit across from you. And thank you for blessing my podcast.
I noticed something. I noticed your voice dropped significantly when you started the podcast. It was like, hey sis, this is Dwyane. This is Dwyane coming at you with the Y. That's how it was.
Yeah, this is my life. When I grew up, I used to listen to like late night radio. This is kind of
WGCI.
Yeah,
a little bit.
You listen to like that's how it always went.
WGCI.
Yeah, no, but this I feel safe at this tone.
Okay. Listen, this is you.
I feel real safe at this tone right here. It sounds good on a podcast. So I always like to start my podcast with the last time I've seen my guest. And the last time I seen you was All-Star Weekend in Indiana. On Friday, when we hung out, we had a great night at our party at the Gentleman's.
Always a great time.
A good night.
Always a great time.
Everybody know if our name is associated with a party, it's going to be a good time. But the last time I seen you actually was on Saturday. For like 3 seconds at the Spades event, you were cutting your eyes at me as I was going off to win my first Spades Championship.
That's because I didn't enter. I was working that night, and so I was going to be late, and I didn't want to hold the whole thing up. So that's why.
That's why what?
That's why I didn't enter This is my first year not entering the Spades Tournament.
Yeah.
So you're welcome. You won because I didn't enter it.
I felt a little way about that. You're welcome.
Listen, you got to add that. You got the Hall of Fame. You got 3-time champ. That's great. But you finally won your own event. So I'm happy for you.
Put own in there. Listen, that's the thing. Everybody it's yours. You should have won it. No, it's Spades. Mm-hmm. It's just that, my name was used to help put the event on.
Okay.
But what's crazy about Spades? You know how much trash talk you get from like Roland Martin hit me.
Oh yeah.
And I'm talking trash. You lucky I wasn't there. Next year's on. I'm like, yo, where this smoke coming from?
It's real. Like Paulo Banchero's parents, we beat them last year. Adam Lefko and myself beat them last year. They were still talking about it this year. They were like, oh, you don't want to enter? You want to enter the tournament so that we could, run it back? Oh, so you just take your ball when you get to the park after you win one game. I was like, this is wild. You guys are parents. They just came in hot.
Wow. Were you one of those?
I mean,
take your ball?
Not after one game, but maybe after a couple. Like if I win 3 or 4, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Oh, not if you lose, though.
No, if I lose, we still playing.
Because we had those people at the park that once they didn't get picked or they lost, they were taking their ball and they was getting up out of there.
Yeah. I'm competitive, so I don't like losing. So we go play till I win, and then I'm going to be like...
okay.
See you later.
Let's talk about that competitiveness. So you're competitive. You grew up in a house with 2 older brothers. How's that? How's growing up with 2 older brothers? I know they supposed to have this protection over you, but I'm sure being competitive as you are, and they were hoopers as well. I'm sure that was.
It's crazy, D, because I was so much younger than my brothers that I got to watch and still try to be competitive and still try to compete, even though I wasn't going to win. So that's how it was. And everything they did, I had the shrink shoes. My brother was a size 14, 15.
Wait.
I had the shrink shoes.
That was in the East Bay?
Yes. I had the white shrink shoes, and they were like 4 or 5 sizes too big. And I was trying to put paper in the back to run and train like my brother. My dad would get in the car and ride, and my brother would run on the shrink shoes. down our street.
Wow.
And I remember just sitting there like dreaming,
never met
like
a family that had those strip shoes.
Yeah, like it was real.
Y'all had some money.
It was, no, we didn't.
Hey, listen, you weren't just getting those strip shoes.
Listen, we had one pair. We had one pair for 3 kids.
Everybody had to share.
Everybody shared, and it was like the same size, so it didn't matter. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But that's how I was with my brothers. Like I just idolized them.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like, I played with a video game unplugged, the controller unplugged.
Yeah.
For so long because I just wanted to be with them, like and hang out and do everything they did. And so I'm so lucky that like my heroes were in my house.
Yeah, that's huge.
And they were great role models and just amazing brothers. For
so
sure.
they are the ones. I mean, we get to your pops as well, but they're the ones who kind of got you to play basketball because watching them hoop, you want to get in there and do the same thing because of their competitiveness. And they brought you along, and they weren't like, go on, get your little stuff.
They definitely brought me along. And I always say my brothers are the ones that prepared me to like be at TNT. Because I have a bunch of big brothers that just make fun of me all the time. Like last week, Shaq was like, yo, your ankle's ashy, like on television, you know? And so it's like, if I didn't grow up in the household I grew up in, I would be like, you know, like, you know, embarrassed about it. But I think my brothers tease me. They love me. They push me down. They pick me up. They did all the things that helped me want to play basketball, want to compete. And I think just like the work ethic, like watching them, my brother and my middle brother's a doctor, just watching him study and stick to it and set goals. And the same thing with my oldest brother who played basketball, like watching him just continue to work at it. Yeah. It's crazy.
Everybody out there that don't know, Candace's brother Anthony played in the NBA. I knew of Anthony because of Henry Thomas. Hank.
Big Bang Hank.
Big Bang Hank. I knew of Anthony. So, you know, I came in already knowing about your brother, but, you know, played against your brother a few times.
Oh, you definitely, listen, you are in a number of group chats because we love seeing Anthony's crooked hand contest your jump shot. Like, it's my favorite thing to turn on SportsCenter and see, like, you doing your D-Wade spin. Yeah. You do, and then just seeing, like, Anthony try to contest with this crooked hand.
Anthony had like, slow feet. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so he was recovering a lot.
Yeah. Oh, shots fired. Pew, 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 pew.
Look, and Anthony gonna be like, I just see him at All-Star Weekend, and he want, you know how people go off and be like, I just seen him, and he wasn't talking like that.
Yeah, Anthony, listen.
Shout out to Anthony. I don't want no smoke.
But listen, Anthony's hilarious because he would always draw like you, Kobe, Darren Williams. Like he would always draw these. Yeah. And so he would always say like, D Wade, you don't know because he has the like, you know. And he was like, Darren Williams, herky-jerky, don't go for the first cross. I remember telling him, and he would call me and be like, I went for the first cross.
It's so hard not to go for Darren used to come up, and his cross was hard. Pop. He's like, wait, hold on.
And you're still trying to get your feet. Yeah.
So Anthony, he was in that size where he's about 6'7", roughly? 6'6"?
6'6".
Okay, about 6'6".
We'll give him 6'6".
But long, you know, kind of longer guy, wasn't the top scorer on his team.
But so he's not a defensive player.
But you automatically got to go guard somebody.
Yeah, like he became one. Right. But when he went over to Europe, like he wasn't.
He was a bucket getter?
He was a shooter.
He's a shooter.
Splash from the corner. Splash coming off screens, but
that's the NBA.
He had to develop when he got back to Toronto. Yeah. He had to defend, and then again with Cleveland, he had to defend a little bit. So
how was that for you? Right, obviously you on your journey in basketball, your brother's on his journey. You think you know a lot about the game, and I'm sure he does. How was that like relationship? Was it like you reaching out saying, Anthony, you should do this, you should do that, or were you reaching out picking his brain more? Like, you know, how's guys working? Like, what's going on?
It's so interesting because he went overseas when I was in 7th, 8th grade. So he missed my entire kind of rise to whatever.
Stardom.
No, we're not going to call it stardom. But he missed my rise in the game of basketball.
We got gold microphones, but we've been humble. Okay, let's go.
He's your gold microphone.
You liked them.
I did. But I think he came back my junior year at college.
Oh.
So he missed that whole period of time where I kind of grew up. And so when he came back, I was not the little tiny baby sister. I was his sister when he came back. So I think our relationship changed. Anthony and I have always been close. We talk almost every day to this day, I should say. But But since then, we've talked every day. And we just kind of pick our brains. We share. We give advice. He's really good at figuring out what I need in terms of like, do I need somebody that's going to tell me, you know, what I need to hear? Or do I need somebody to just listen and then him tell me or ask questions? So I'm proud of my brother.
Man, he need to get relationship advice if he done figured that out.
Listen, Anthony is...
He got the cheat code.
Anthony legit is one of the best humans in the world because of the way that I feel like he's such a great teammate.
Yeah.
Even off the floor. I think that's why they love him in Orlando. He's the general manager there. But he's great at like managing people and emotions, and he never gets too high or too low. And he gives some amazing pregame speeches. Like, it's
like
crazy.
Type, like
we lost game 4 going back to Minnie, had to win on their home court. And he hit me with do you remember the book Chop Wood, Carry Water?
Oh, he one of those.
He hit me with that.
He one of those.
He
like,
said, do you remember the book Chop Wood, Carry Water? How you said a golf ball that hasn't been hit doesn't travel right. He said, but they noticed the ones that had the most dents and that were beat up actually traveled the best. And he's like, let's... You know, you've been dinged up, you've been whatever, you've been talked about in your career. Like now, this is giving you the opportunity to travel the best and to travel accurate. And, you know, so he hit the speech. I was like, all right, you see that wall? I got you. I'll meet you on the other side. So
I love
there's that. Yeah, he's great at that.
So your dad played at Iowa, am I correct?
Say Iowa.
Iowa?
Yeah, there you go. You don't say Iowa?
That's all you got to say.
Say it with your chest.
Iowa.
Say it with your chest.
Yeah, say it with your chest.
You know, I don't like saying a lot of other colleges, you know what I mean? I'm a little, but so Iowa is actually one of the schools I wanted to go to.
Word.
And it's not for no reason that would make sense.
Okay, I want to hear why.
I like the colors.
Okay.
Black and, okay. I mean...
I don't have many pictures of my childhood, but I have one. When it comes out, I have Iowa basketball shorts, on, black and gold, and I love black and gold. My high school was black and gold. It was two. I love gold, so like Michigan was blue and gold. So those are two schools when I was young. I wanted to go to Michigan or I wanted to go to Iowa.
Well, Michigan was everybody.
Well, yeah, everybody.
Iowa,
we all jumped on the Michigan bandwagon.
Yeah, Black Sox.
But Iowa, I was like, okay, I could do Iowa. Like I could do Purdue. Like in these schools, I don't know, it's the colors.
Yeah,
when you're a kid.
You're also in the Midwest. That's probably some of it too. It's like you didn't see like UCLA. Can you imagine if we would have seen? We would have been out here. I would have definitely been out here. I was like, what was I thinking? Not taking a visit to USC.
Oh well, I didn't have. Excuse me.
Oh my gosh.
The conversation just turned real quickly from young goat to USC. I had IUPUI. Man, you talking about USC? Those initials are different. Was your dad good at basketball though? Talk to me.
So,
because he big.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. So my parents met at Iowa. My mom went to Iowa. My dad went to Iowa. My dad was the first 4-year player. Started at Iowa. So they used to do where freshmen couldn't play varsity. That's what it was called. He was the first year in 72 that they allowed freshmen to play.
Okay.
You know, when he got there. He old. Yeah.
Simmons is old.
Yeah. So I would say my dad was like super quick first step, more like a slasher, more like a finisher at the rim.
Okay.
I've only seen like a couple grainy clips of him with his like first step.
He never sit you down and make you watch none of his.
But there's not. I mean, it's like he didn't have a lot of film. You know what I mean? Like it was in the 70s.
A lot of film on you, Pop?
It's not like you like YouTube, you know.
Right.
And even our YouTube clips from high school are a little grainy.
They look grainy.
Yeah. My daughter was like, "Why does it look like that?" I'm like, because I'm old.
Yeah. I remember Hank set me down on the plane one day and made me watch his old highlights.
Did Hank have an afro? Did he have?
Yeah, he
had a little afro.
He had a little afro. And then, you know, them shorts was like as big as this book.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And his little light-skinned body.
Just running. Oh my God.
And I had to sit and watch, like, just show me that he was nice. So I'm just, you know, like, that's how like my dad did that to me. Like,
that's my favorite thing is when they show you and then they're like, oh, didn't quite look. Okay, we gonna fast forward right here. Like, no, hold on, let's watch the whole film. You talk about highlights now. No, let's watch the whole film. Yeah.
So as your dad been pretty much probably your first coach, would you say?
100%.
Right?
Yeah. So I played soccer.
You played soccer?
I played soccer growing up. And then right around, I would say 7th grade is when I started playing basketball.
Okay.
So I played at 6th, 7th grade is when I started playing like traveling basketball. And my dad was my coach.
Okay. And now that you know, like going back, was he a good coach? Did he know what he was saying? Like,
listen,
what was his strength?
The crazy thing is my dad is the one that forced me to look at the game in a different way.
Okay.
Breaking down the why. And I think sometimes, see how I tie that back into your podcast, the why.
Use that in the commercial break.
but breaking down the why of things, and not to get in my head of myself, but later on, when I ask why, it's because of that. He was always big on, you got to know why you're doing stuff. So when you're going to set a down screen, you got to know why, what's your intention, so that I can get my shooter open. So that changes your butt angle, that changes how you headhunt, that changes the position of your screen. And I think later on in my basketball career, when I would ask why, coaches would take that personally. Like, you don't trust what we're doing. No, I got to know why we're doing this so that then I can change and adjust and do things. And my dad was big on that. I mean, we were running a Princeton set offense in 6th, 7th, 8th grade.
Wow.
I laugh because I look at the way that Kobe was teaching his team and the things that he was sitting down doing, and, you know, how to guard screens, how to guard shooters, how to lock and trail, how to force one way, and then we square up on our feet, bigs, being able to rebound, start the break. Like, that was all my dad doing that with our team. And I think the reason why I see the game the way I do is because of him. I mean, watching WGN old Bulls games, and he would stop it. We'd always VHS tape the game, and he'd pause it and be like, okay, what did Pippen do here?
Yeah,
like on the defensive end, where are they trying to funnel the ball? Yeah. And I would answer, this is 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So the studying of the game came from him.
I think the details, right? Like, for me, I'm about, when I watch the game, it doesn't matter. I know people can score the basketball. It's the details of how they're scoring. And so when I do my camps or academies, I'm talking about those little details, like even like how you get open. Like kids, just if somebody denying you and, you know, you're trying to get the ball, like a lot of people just release early. And these details of holding your position and releasing once the ball released, like all these small details, those are, to me, when you have great coaches that really can focus on that, like your screen position of not going to screen at the side of a person. How about you go screen at this angle that's like their shoulder and their hip and their butt or whatever, right? These little small details is what takes good players to that different level, that IQ level. And so it sounds like your dad gave you a little bit of that early on.
And passing, like making the right play.
Yeah.
And sometimes to a fault, you know, where maybe you should have been selfish and taken a shot, but it's like, I can't help but see that, you know, and it all comes from instincts, but it also comes from like studying the game as well, where I'm going to manipulate this to get this player open. Yeah. So I think it was just being aware and always being open to listening to like what the new philosophy is, what the new thought process is. I don't know.
How did Reggie Miller become your favorite? Like, he's your favorite player, right? Like,
so he's not my favorite all-time player.
Okay, because
that's not the case.
Reg.
He's not my favorite all-time player. I loved people that came into Chicago and battled Mike. Okay. Like, I love Michael Jordan. Don't get me wrong. He's the GOAT, in my opinion, because he's the blueprint and everybody was trying to model themselves after him, right? But the people that came in and battled him, the Reggie Millers, the Ron Harpers, like, people forget when Ron played back in the day.
That's right. Yeah. What?
Ron used to, before his knees were messed up, Ron Harper used to give him.
Was it Clipper Ron?
So Clipper Ron, I mean,
we had Clipper Ron.
With Detroit. Detroit Ron.
Ron was nice.
Yeah, Detroit Ron was really nice. But anytime Chicago wanted you to come play for them, it was clearly because, you know, we had seen what you have done in the past. So I don't know. I just always loved those guys. I mean, Isaiah Thomas, the same thing. Like, I just love those guys that came into Chicago with like a chip on their shoulder and weren't like, oh, he's the greatest of all time. Like, let me back down.
Isaiah still has the chip on the shoulder.
Oh, it's still there.
Shout out to our OG.
Man,
Isaiah,
Zeke is still there. Zeke is still there. But listen, I feel Zeke, man. Zeke is one of the best guards to ever pick a of basketball and
Hands
needs
down.
to be recognized as such.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. We'll take a whole turn on this pod talking about that, but it definitely is. It's as we watch so many of our greats that don't get the recognition that we all know they deserve.
Who did you grow up idolizing?
Well, MJ.
I mean, okay, other than MJ. It's like MJ and then
MJ, Scotty, and the Bulls. Let me say that. Outside of those guys, because I was really like Chicago, WGN, that's all I really watched. But as I got older and I was able to kind of, get out of my MJ love phase once he stepped away, then I opened it up a little bit. But before MJ,
to who?
To like Iverson and Kobe.
Okay.
Ray. Like I enjoy guys that I looked at as someone that possibly my size that can have a similar game. If your game wasn't in my style of play, I really wasn't. Like Patrick Ewing, I wasn't really watching Patrick Ewing. Yeah. That wasn't going to be my game. So, and plus I didn't like New York neither.
No,
I couldn't
New York.
stand the Knicks. Couldn't stand the Knicks. I digress. So who did you emulate? Like what player would you look at and say, hey, growing up, I emulated that style of play?
I hate fitting in like a lane. That is my biggest like ick, is fitting in like one lane. So I think I took pieces from a lot of different people. I grew up loving Iverson. That's part of the reason why I wear number 3 is Iverson. I had the finger bands. My brother got drafted to Philly, so he was on the team.
You had the Iverson Philly band.
I had the finger number 3 bands.
Like from him?
Yes, he gave them to me when I was in high school.
Oh, you had so much
No,
swag.
I was in junior high. And I wore them in high school. Like, you don't understand my love for Iverson. I was doing the Jadakiss commercials or whatever. The Jadakiss, right? Jadakiss commercials. I could do that whole commercial that they did with the white ball and the white. I had all the Reebok shoes, the answers, the questions. I had the air bubbles used to pop. I used to go get some more. But I loved Iverson. So he was the one that I kind of wanted to dribble and learn the
Was it just
mixtape.
that? Was it his dribbling or was it just his whole
I would just say it's
swag?
his heart.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't care what people told him he couldn't do. He was going to do it. And I love the fact that he was him. Like, not in the sense of today, him, but like him. Like, he was him all the time. Do-rag, walking into games, on the podium, as a dad, off the court. He was Iverson.
He was Iverson.
And so hate him or love him, like, he wasn't going to change based off of his environment. And I love that. Yeah. So I did have the little zigzag braids, I'm not going to lie.
I already know you
I had
did.
to set it off back.
I already know you did.
I did. I went through that phase. Oh, I look back at pictures. I'm like, Mom, can we not keep these in the photo album?
That's Iverson. That's why I had Iverson as the one to, walk me and introduce me into the Hall of Fame, because exactly what you said. And that's why I tried to like say those things up there, because for kids, the young kids growing up, I mean, we idolize the fact that he did challenge the conventional norms, that he wasn't like everyone else. Like, we love Mike and the suits and how he showed up, but when Iverson came, it was like, oh man, like, you can be like that too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Still be cold. Because it was a certain way that you thought you had to be. And then Iverson showed you, no, you don't, in a sense. And so, that's why I wanted to give him his flowers. Speaking of giving flowers, like you do on Tuesday's show, like when we work together, is I wanted to make sure I gave Iverson his flowers on stage because of exactly
what you
said.
He always deserves it. Always. Yeah. He changed an entire culture, mentality. Like, I think the NBA as a whole changed as a result of him taking the
fashion.
No, but like, he took a bullet in a lot of fines, so that
being the first.
Yeah, and it's like you do take a bullet being the first, and sometimes people look at you like you're different, and then now you see all these kids out that are able to be themselves and able to, play the game they love, but also can not be. I think the thing for me is it's not. They're not taking away the who you are based off like tattoos and what you look like. Before, it would be like you automatically had a check against you.
Oh, if you had a headband, it was that was a little much. You had braids, like it. I mean, we lived through that, and now I told one of the players recently that I was like, "Yo, y'all got it. Like, everything that we all wanted. This is the time right now where y'all got all the things. Y'all can do all the things. Y'all getting all the things.
It's wild.
Yeah, like this is the moment, right? And for the NBA, where this is the height for me, where all the players before them have worked their butt off.
It's wild.
And want it, and they have it.
Okay, I know you know something about the NBA because I'm looking at the WNBA
Well, we gonna get
college
to that,
now. Like, man, I was eating freaking Papa John's before games. They couldn't feed us or anything. Like, imagine how much I would have dropped if I wouldn't have had to eat Papa John's before games. No offense, Shaq, but like pregame, like, come on, man.
If he was getting like them good meals,
man, and then you'd like splurge and get the little cinnamon whatever sticks that they had for dessert. Like, all right, this year, this week my money came in, so. Yeah, no, we weren't doing that.
No,
not at all.
Yeah, they got it. But that's why you work so hard, right, for the game to continue to keep you on.
Yep.
That's why they got it. Yeah, that's why I let them know. I was like, y'all got it. Just want you like, ain't no jealousy over here, but I'm gonna let you know.
I'm trying to.
Y'all got it. Y'all got what we wanted.
Oh my gosh.
So speaking of like, just obviously, as I go down and I think about you, all I think about as an athlete is winning, right? Like your name is associated with winning at every level. I'm sure you won at the junior 7th, 8th grade level too, but high school, multiple championships, college, multiple championships, obviously the NBA, multiple championships. So when I think of Candace Parker, I associate Candace Parker, an athlete, is just a winner. And as being a winner, how bad of a loser are you?
My mom, myself, my daughter, and my wife, we were all playing dominoes yesterday.
So you just went somewhere. You just went dark.
Yeah. And my mom was sitting behind my wife. So she's like she's like acting like John Stockton, throwing her lobs. So the whole game, she's just scoring like 20, 25. At one point, I was just like, enough. Like, we can't keep throwing her lobs. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, On wins. And my mom and my daughter are like, it's no fun playing with you. And On's like, well, it's only when she's losing. Like, she doesn't have fun when she's losing. Mm-hmm. And I would say that's me. I don't have a good attitude when I lose. I didn't grow up having to have a good attitude. Now, will I give respect and reflect? But at the time, I'm not a good loser.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just am like, why would anybody want to be a good loser? Am I wrong though?
How do you be?
I don't know. I know this day and age, like parenting has changed from my daughter is 14 and my son is 2. And the mentality, even in that amount of time, I'm sure with Zaire, it's changed.
Yeah.
But like, why would you teach your kid to be a good loser? Now, can handle myself and conduct myself and be cool or whatever, but I'm gonna be mad. Why would you be happy losing? I'm just asking anybody that lose, I did my best. Yes, I'm relinquishing results. I'm cool, whatever, but losing is not cool.
Okay. Understand that. So after you lose, which you're going to lose playing sports, you're going to lose in life. Mm-hmm. After you have a loss, how quickly do you come back from that loss? And what
now?
Yeah. Well, even growing up, like you're a high school champion, you're a college champion. Growing up in this process, when you would lose or you would have those bad games, how quickly did you turn it around for yourself?
Oh, bad games. It was like after we lose, you don't have to worry about it. Like the next game it's going to be better. I would say more so I worried about myself after wins. Like you don't want to relax. Like losses were it was never difficult training in the off season after a loss. Mm-hmm. It was never difficult getting up the next day and watching film or whatever to try to get better for the next game. It was only difficult if you didn't have control. Like if there wasn't another game, if there wasn't another opportunity. But yeah, I've never liked losing. And I think you talk about this generation being able to talk shit, say what they feel, show emotion. Like I didn't grow up with that ability, especially in the women's game. Yeah. I was a smart ass. I was an asshole. I was like all these things on the court that now
I just want you to be truthful to my audience out here.
I was considered that. I still am, but it is accepted.
Okay.
It is accepted.
It's accepted now.
It is accepted.
Yeah.
Like how many weeks afterwards that y'all beat us in spades, was I still texting you? Like,
you still feel away right now.
I feel some type of way. It was off of, listen, they won off of like they threw out a jack. It was the last hand. And it was like, whoever wins this, nobody knew what anybody had. We threw it out. It was like a jack of clubs they won off of.
Ooh,
I was like, this is wild, right?
Wow.
Okay, sorry.
No, I love
still
it because we won. You can talk about me winning all day.
Jack of clubs.
No.
Oh, wow.
But I don't like losing, and it doesn't matter whatever it is. Like, there's certain things I cannot play with people. I will not play spades with my wife for the next couple weeks because she kept cutting my king, and it kept driving me crazy.
Yeah.
So like, I have non-negotiables. We cannot play 2-on-2 volleyball because I feel like we don't. Like, she doesn't dive. She'll just be like, I couldn't get that ball. And I'm like, but how did you know?
She was cutting you as your partner?
She was cutting me with a king. She didn't have that suit. And she cut me with like a low spade. And I kept trying to nicely explain this to her so that she would still be invited to the cookout. And she didn't want to listen. So I was like, I'm not playing spades with you for a while. She's going to kill me after she hears this.
No, but listen,
Wow.
it is hard to play spades in relationships.
She kept cutting my king. I nicely explained it to her.
I had to get the clarification.
I was like, listen, it's not you, it's me. I can't handle this.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Bob plays with his wife.
Yes.
You play with yours. I play with mine. Hence why we haven't won in the tournament, because you get to that point where you be like, you cutting my king. What do I do right now? Do I want to go home later and just have a good, or do I want to go off? Like,
But your energy is very strong, and so is mine. So I don't do well with hiding the fact that you cut my king. Like, my facial expression is looking at you like, you cut my king. Like, we had dinner the next day, and I'm like, you cut my mother king.
Oh.
Like, yeah, exactly. So I'm competitive. Yeah, I am.
Go ahead, assistant coach.
Nah, so I'm going to go back to that space because I feel you on that completely. But I wanted to talk about the two of you guys from Chicago and how Chicago kind of made you finally respecting other players. Like, what you had to do, because I hear about Chicago Tough and those kinds of things. You have great Chicago players. Like, when you look at each other and you look at the players that come from Chicago, what does that mean for somebody who's not from Chicago? For both of you
Some
guys.
people from Illinois, but Illinois, however you said it.
But I think that there are players that go to Chicago, because I always went to Chicago to measure my game. Like, I played pickup at DePaul, played pickup at Hoops Gym.
Mm-hmm.
We would get there early before my team practice and watch Michael Jordan work out at Hoops.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were some amazing runs and amazing tournaments, and I feel like a lot of people came through Chicago to figure out their game.
Stack themselves up. Like, where my game at right now?
Exactly.
Let me go down to Chicago for the summer and see where it is.
I think KG would have been a legend regardless, but him playing his last year in Chicago, like, I remember that. People climbing over the gate to try to see KG play. And it was even Ronnie Fields' team. Like, it wasn't even wasn't even KG's team.
No, it was Ronnie Fields.
It was climbing over to go see Kevin Garnett. I just think it's a different mentality, and it's also a different level of support. Like, I felt the love with you because we came from the same place, and I always felt like we always connected on that level because we always take care of each other. Like, there's like a mentality of that. I think obviously we're hoopers, but there's like a different mentality that I think. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, it's a certain kind of dog that's in that we all have in each other, like we have inside of us, that we all can recognize. Like, I can look at Candace hoop one time and I can recognize the dog in her. And I think we all have that. Like, I know it in Q Rich. Like, I know it in all my Chicago, I know it in Isaiah. And so I think it's a respect from just how we approach the game. You know what I mean? Like, the game means something to us. Like, we ain't out there trying to be cute. We out there to hoop. We out there to get it. And so it's a respect in that. And I agree with you. I think I felt a lot of pride coming from Chicago, even though I come from a small suburbs and people are like, well, you didn't go to Whitney Young, you didn't go to Simeon. But as one of the Chicago guys, I feel like everybody from Isaiah Thomas and Mark McGuire, like all these legends that we have, everyone has shown love to all. We have all shown love to each other.
Right.
We all have respect for each other, what everyone has done. We've all shown love throughout. And so that makes all of us, when you hear somebody from Chicago, you want to bring them in because you were brought in and you were respected in a sense. And so I love saying I'm from the Chi, and Illinois or whatever people want to call it. Like, I love saying I'm from Chicago because of what I feel like we represent as obviously athletes that everyone's got to know. So
don't you think also it's from growing up watching the Bulls, there was this expectation to win.
Yeah.
So there's this level of comfort in those situations.
Yeah.
Like, without a shadow of a doubt, I knew MJ was going to hit that shot in Utah.
In our eyes, every time.
Every single time. Because we saw it. We saw the fist pump. We saw the crossover, the little nudge with the jump shot, hold the follow through. Like, you knew you were going to make those plays. And because you've seen it so much in those moments, I feel like Chicago ballers are comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're comfortable in those moments. We're comfortable with that, with the lights on. Like, who would have thought D-Wade go down to Miami, be the first in the class to win a championship in that? Oh, you know what I mean? Like, because I feel like you were comfortable in the moment. Look at you rise to the occasion at NCAA Tournament with Marquette.
Well, we've seen it. What you see,
Yeah, exactly. We watched like
that
those
guy.
big moments.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
We've watched that guy. So it's a great way that you said that, because it's something that it's a confidence that comes with that because you've seen it over and over again. Like, we had confidence as fans that once the game got down, MJ about to do his thing, and we knew it. And so that just became like, when you got your time, you're like, game going down, let me get that and do what MJ did. You know what I mean? It's that confidence of knowing, like, we can do this. This is what we do.
I never looked at that. That makes sense.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah,
either,
that makes sense.
That makes a lot.
That makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Let's go to college. I know high school is high school, but let's go to college, because that's when I personally got a chance to really watch you become this superstar. And what I loved about you in college is, one, you were number 3. Let me throw that out there. But I love the way that you played the entire game. And when I say that, like, no matter which block you were on, you can score. Left hand, right hand. No matter if it was getting the rebound off, going coast to coast, no matter if it was getting the rebound, getting up to your teammates, no matter if it was, they throwing it back to you, knock it down the mid-range, knock it down the tray ball. Like, you did everything on the floor. And I believe at that time, we didn't see that in the women's game a lot. Now, I know it's other players who had those capabilities. I'm not saying that, but it was not nothing we've seen, and not that full package together. And so I fell in love with the versatility of Candace Parker before I got a chance to know the person. Where did that come from? Did that come from just from your upbringing of your dad and everything you taught, or was that your coaches along the way telling you, hey, you have to be so multi-diverse in how you play. You don't want to just be one way?
My dad, my one grandma's 5'10", my other grandma is like 5'5", so he's like, maybe I'm 5'9", 5'10" at the time. He's like, this might be it.
Right.
And if you're going to be 5'10", you can't be a post player. So this is from the time I'm little, he put the ball in my hand. And again, I think it was a combination of coaching and then also just me wanting to be like Iverson, seeing the And One mixtape come out and try to do all those moves. And soccer. I think those were kind of the 3 levels of why I wanted to do all those other things, but also like my mind, I can't just do a right hook. Now, looking back, looking at the game today, where you just can do one thing and do it really well, and you just have a counter move to that one thing. Sometimes you don't even need a counter move to that one thing.
We talking about all-star.
Exactly. You don't even need, there are people that I'm like, he's going left, but he can't stop it. Right. So looking back, maybe I would have done that, but the way my mind works is like, I got to do the right hook and then I got to throw in a little shimmy. Yeah. Then I got to do the right hook and I got to throw in the kick, or I got to do the right hook and then I got
flair.
Like I got to do that. I don't know, the way that my mind works, it gets boring if I can't just do one turnaround, which is a problem because sometimes you just got to do one turnaround, in a game. But I've always wanted to do that. And then my left hand I just loved using it.
Your left hand was nice.
I just loved using my left hand. And I learned that from Europe, because in Europe you go left a lot because you have to cross step, which you learned in 2008 when your entire Olympic team was being called for travels. Do you remember that? And then D-Wade would look at me and I'd be like, yep, that was a travel overseas. D-Wade would be like, that's not a travel. It's a travel.
Oh,
it's a travel. 08 was the funniest thing ever. Kobe. Yes, that's a travel. Like, you can't do that over here.
Yeah.
Braun would open step. Can't do that. Chris Bosh, do that little rip through baseline. Can't do that. Traveling. Go the other way.
Candace just said something very important, and I think it's important for obviously athletes, but for parents as well to understand. She said that she couldn't do a basic right hand hook or a basic move. She got bored, and so to you got to have great coaches to understand the player. And I'm sure obviously Pat is one of the greatest coaches ever to walk the sideline. And to be a great coach like that, to be able to coach a great player, you have to recognize, okay, she's not trying to be, put on for the crowd. She gets bored. And in the midst of getting bored, I have to allow her to freelance a little bit and do her thing. A little bit.
And Pat taught me that a little bit.
Right?
A little bit. Because there's a time for a right hook. There's a time to just put somebody in the basket and not be cute about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's learning.
Is learning that.
It's learning that.
And it's having leaders. Talk about the leader. And I know you speak about Pat, of all that she's been and is to your life, but talk about the leader that she was, because obviously you came in very highly, touted and talented, but to have that leader to be able to, kind of set that talent where it should go and where it need to go. What was her leadership style?
It's crazy, because I feel like my dad and Pat set me up for failure. They did. Because I had such a close emotional relationship with them that they knew what I was thinking before I was even thinking it.
Okay.
They knew the buttons to push. They knew when to back off. They knew when to question. Because if you question whether I can do something, I'm going to stay up all night, all day, trying to prove to you that I can. And they knew that. So they knew the buttons to push. And I say that because Coach and my dad were two of the best listeners I've ever been a part of.
Like when you explained to them?
Yeah, they wanted to know the why. They wanted to know what I was thinking. And because they gave me that opportunity to express myself, ask questions, when they said, shut up, we got to get this done, I shut up. But when it's constantly like, you're not allowed to, like there's when one of your kids is showing promise in something, right? You want them to like be curious. That's what we always say as parents, like the best thing that you can give your kid or have your kid be is to be curious, because then you're going to want to do. But a lot of that curiosity is killed in kids because they're told to sit down, shut up, be quiet, don't do this. That's not how we behave. That's not how we act.
That's the generation we came from.
Especially. And so then when you get older and you have this curious talent and you shut off all of the questions and the curiosity and the excitement, and it becomes this like, now, all the time, can my daughter tell me what color socks she want to wear? No.
Yeah.
But why am I saying no? It's a good question. So I think Pat and my dad, those two coaches would say, we're hedging on the screen because she's killing us on the dribble back. And then she's waiting and she's hitting threes. That's why we're hedging on the screen. Okay. I didn't see it that way. I thought we were hedging on the screen because we want to get the ball out of her hands, but she turns the ball over. So in my head, that's what I'm thinking. So there's always a reason why I'm asking the question. And I think Coach Summitt and my dad always understood that my brain was always like going. And then I got to the WNBA and it was like attacking. Like if I asked a question, it was like, oh, you don't think I know this? Right. No, that's not why I'm asking that question. So I think Coach Summitt's leadership style was she listened. She empowered her players and she didn't treat every player the same. She treated us with the same respect and things like that. But the challenges that she had to throw at me, she couldn't throw at this player. Or the challenges or the conversation she was having with this player, she couldn't have with me. Like she knew that. And that's what made her great.
What was, thinking about a moment, and it could be, obviously we go to championships, but what's your favorite Pat moment? What's your favorite moment with her and you?
Oh my goodness.
That stays with you.
The moment that I think will stay with me forever is probably, there's so many moments. When I got there my freshman year, I couldn't play. I had to redshirt because of my knee. So I just had like serious knee surgery. So at that point, we were contenders for a national championship. I couldn't play. And she like took the time to like, I was struggling. My parents were getting divorced, all that. And she just left her door open and was like, hey, I want you to come eat lunch in my room, in my office every Wednesday. You don't have to say anything. You just sit there, just eat lunch. And then slowly but surely I started talking and opening up and, she provided a safe space for you. Yeah. And and at the time, now I think we talk about therapy. We talk about, getting help. We talk about talking through your issues or whatever. I was the kid that just, everything's going to be fine, And so to be able to have that space with somebody like Coach Summitt, who didn't have to do that. There were counselors on staff. I could have gone, she could have put me with a sports psychologist or whatever, but like her doing that really opened the doors to our relationship. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I saw her as like, yes, she's a fantastic coach, but like she's a great human. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially at that time in your life, right? While you were in college, obviously away from your family as you knew it growing up, that leader, that coach, that figure in your life becomes very important. Tom Crean, for me, was very important as my family was going through their, our trials and tribulations, right? My mom was going down her journey, my dad. And to have someone that even though like he would get on me, he didn't treat me he got on me more than anybody, but it was a safe space that he always provided for me. And whether that safe space was me coming crying on his shoulder when I just needed to cry, be that expressive, be that vulnerable. It's important for, you to have people in your life, especially, your coaches, because they're going to get even more out of you for one, if they take the time to, to put those things into you, to put that love into you and to create that space. So for all the coaches out there, just understand how important, your role is. It's not just to get wins. You know what I mean? Like this is a win that you allow a kid who was going through something and was dealing with something. You allow that safe space for them to, to come to you and to be, just be. And so love that. But I think there's so many times where coaches coach the player and they don't coach the entire person. And in order to get the best out of the player, you have to coach the entire person. Like you're not showing up to practice just as a player. You're showing up as a dad, as a husband, as a son, as all these things. And you're carrying like all those who's with you and you're supposed to perform in your what. But nobody wants to take time to understand the who, right? That's a bar. No, that's but like, you know what I mean? Yes. And I think the coaches that really understand that, and we're getting it now because it's forced. Like social media has forced coaches to actually behave in a way that, because you never know what's being recorded, what's being text, what's being whatever. So I feel like coaches now are held to this bar where, but you can tell the ones that have the intention to do it. There's that like intangible thing that you have a connection with a person or with whatever. You can tell that there's like an intention behind it. And so I think through Coach and my dad and those coaches, I've learned to like look for that intention. Do you know what I mean? With the person. They may not be perfect right now, but you can look for the intention. Yeah. And that will, I don't know, that will help with everything. Cause I know that's why I connected with you was your intention. Like, like you definitely could there's so many times that we'd have conversations about that. Yeah. All the time. Speaking of like around that time and attention, we talk about, Candace and I have spoke about this before, and even to the point where we're like, was that a violation? But we gonna move on from it. I know where this is going. But we talked about this before when Candace was in college. It's definitely a violation. If I get the national championship taken back because of this Why podcast, we gonna fight. We like, but we like family, so it's cool. We like Reggie Bush trying to out here to get my Heisman trophy back. Because of Anthony, because of our guy Hank. I remember Hank telling me we were at the ESPYs, and were you up there for what, college player of the year? What were you up there for? Yeah, women's college athlete. College athlete of the year. And I remember Hank telling me, obviously you were going to be out there, and he was like, take care of my girl. Make sure you take care of her. Any party she want to get in, like, make sure you got her, right? And so, ever since that moment, I've always
tried to be, whatever it is. Candace and I have always had a great relationship, and it's built from that conversation. Hank had with me like, take care of my girl, take care of Candace. But I did take care of her that week. It was a cool moment, and I know that it's a picture out there. I don't know if we have it, but someone has it, where we were at this party, and Candace wanted to meet some legends in our community, right? Some Black actresses that are legends. We grew up watching.
My brother Marcus was with me too.
Brother was with him, and Candace like, she didn't care about nothing that was going on in the party.
Nothing.
She didn't want a party. She didn't want none of that. She was like, I want to meet Nia Long. I want to meet Gab. I want to meet Sanaa
Lathan.
And was it one more, or was it just some three?
No, it was just those three.
Just those three.
Just those three.
And that was, as a big brother, it was my time. It was my time to be like, you want to meet them?
Like our entire life.
Yes.
Just
that's royalty.
That's royalty.
Facts.
That's royalty. And
I'm gonna send you that picture. I think I still have it. Listen, we make a family calendar every year, and my brother's picture with them was on the family calendar. So you made his life and ours by introducing me with your orange juice. I remember to all of them.
Yeah, because I didn't drink anything.
You didn't drink. So he had orange juice. I remember being like, what?
I didn't drink anything. But I mean, that was the first time that you and I kind of like connected, but been connected ever since. Mm-hmm. And, I say that to say, because I've always loved to give my guy Hank love, but that's how we roll. You even talk about Chicago, like it's that, right? It's somebody saying, hey, this person, and you like locked in, got it. And it's a lifetime thing. And so in the midst of this run, I mean, you becoming like one of my favorite players, I actually got a chance to spend some time with her and then be like, oh no, she cool.
I thought you were talking about the sidekick.
Well, I was about to talk about the sidekick. And then
because I was like, listen, and then we're gonna talk about this sidekick. I
wound up sending, I had my sidekick out around that time. This was 2008.
No, it was the D Wade sidekick with the basketball. Like he had like a basketball textured on the back of the sidekick.
Yeah. It was coming off. It was coming off the 2006 championship, so it was a white and gold,
super nice
kind of vibe.
Super nice.
And I had like a few, and we argue about this internally because some people don't think they got one. But I had a few people I could send them out to. You only get about 10,
right?
And I actually sent one to Candace.
Yo, I rode that thing until the wheels fell off. Till literally the screen was coming off with the basketball in the back. You could not tell me nothing. I remember I pulled up to class and I had it and I just sat it on my desk. Like everybody was walking past. I'm like, yeah, this me right here. Yeah, like because that's a big deal in college, man.
Trust me.
Like it was a big deal. So it was always so cool to like see all the things that you go through, to see all the things that you've accomplished. But to know you kind of from the beginning-ish, and to like see that. I remember the first time we were like both in our 30s, we're like, oh, we grown now. Like, look at us. We so grown. Look at us.
We out here.
It's true. So I've always just been so proud of you, man. Like so proud of who you are. And obviously we connect on parenthood a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's been the little sis looking, but also like a little big sis, like just proud of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many different levels. And then, like I said, then it's the fan level. Like I love hoop. And so, I go out and I talk about the game and I talk about my favorite players in basketball, and Candace is one of my favorite players. And a lot of it is not just accomplishments, right? Like we could talk about them because she has all of them, but it's the way that she's done it. And when I know people who has overcome injuries, like she just said, she was coming off knee surgery in high school, going into college. She still won 5 more championships after that total, right? And so to know that is to know that a person can overcome these moments, and these are not easy moments to overcome. And so been a fan of so many different things, but I'm a fan of the person I know who's overcome so much, to continue to be all the things that she is. And so I say that to say, watching you go to the NBA from college and watching you just take over right away, like that was special. I think you got Rookie of the Year and MVP your first year. How is that? Like MVP
yeah,
and Rookie of the Year?
I just came in and was just playing free. And I had a situation where I was able to do that. Michael Cooper was like, we're going to play you at point. We're going to play you at 3. We're going to play you at, the post player. Obviously, he comes from that Pat Riley.
Showtime.
Yeah, he comes from the Showtime, but he also comes from the running 17s if you lose in practice. And
best condition, hardest working.
And to be honest with you, I think it's undervalued that I played alongside one of the greatest to ever play the game.
Yeah.
So I played with Lisa.
Yeah.
So depending on the night, she might have the best post defender on her.
Yeah.
I might have the best post defender on me. They try to guard me with a 3. We go in the post. So it was a lot of fun to be able to play on that team, run and gun, get up and down, and kind of show my entire skill set. What
year was Lisa in when you came to the Sparks?
Oh man, she was she retired the next year. So she was like 14, 15, something like that.
I saw a stat recently, and I don't know how true it is. I saw a stat that said Lisa scored like 101 points in 16 minutes.
Yeah.
16 minutes?
I mean, listen, that's crazy.
Wow.
I don't know about 16 minutes, but I know the 101 points. But even in it's 8-minute quarter, 32 minutes, that's still ridiculous. Think about it. Because they play 8-minute quarters. Still ridiculous, regardless of how you look at it.
It's ridiculous. Oh, first of all, it's ridiculous right now because we got people saying that Wilt didn't score 100, and we had this conversation. I don't want to.
We did.
Don't.
Wait, what?
So
this new generation of kids are now saying that Wilt, because they can't see the footage, that Wilt didn't score 100.
I just posed the question because
I felt like that was directed.
Well, we had a conversation about it on the wind down.
Is it real? Because some people say that there's literally no footage, and they did not play at home. They played in Indiana, and
I thought it was New York.
No, they didn't. They played. They did not play.
No footage. I don't know.
There's no footage. So it was never. It was not
played. I thought it was Philly.
Yeah, I thought it was Philly. It was on the East Coast. I thought it was New Jersey, Philly.
I
just listened to that podcast.
It was a random place they played at.
New Jersey.
This is the problem right now. There's too much guessing going on.
They played at a random place, like at the LA Fitness. And
don't see. That's the thing I'm talking about.
My bad. You know what? Because I believe it. But
so now they're gonna say that Lisa or Cheryl didn't score 100 because both of them on record.
I'm sure there's footage of it though. There's footage, man.
What do you think about today though? Because everybody keeps saying that LeBron's record is not going to be broken, but then they also say that there's going to be 200 points scored in a regular season game. Like the scoring is increasing.
Yes,
right?
It has.
Yeah.
Defense is decreasing. So why wouldn't we think that somebody's going to break
the record
if scoring keeps going the way that it goes?
Because of the longevity of
it. Yeah, you're not
I think that's the big
But
thing.
if you're averaging in your career 30 points for 14 seasons or 15 seasons,
I mean,
do you know what I mean?
Longevity of a person having to be
I'm in agreement with you. I'm just simply posing the question that if scoring is going the way that it is, 3-point shooting is going the way that it is. I mean, we look at what Anthony Edwards is, I don't know how many points behind LeBron in the same amount of time. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas the same amount of, or before his whatever birthday.
Right.
It's like him, Luka, I don't know who the other one was.
Yeah, I mean,
Anthony Edwards scored the most amount of threes. Like, and I wouldn't even consider.
They won't be able to score that much. It's that
you're saying the longevity of it.
It's the longevity of scoring that, like to do that for 20
that
plus
many
years.
Yeah.
I mean, this first of all, shout out to Brian.
No, ridiculous.
Obviously, shout out to Brian, but Kareem did it in the post, and it took me some time to kind of put that in my mind and say, so he had to get the ball. He wasn't shooting threes. I can't say he was shooting a lot of free throws because he was fading away. He was hooking them, not going into contact. So I'm like, how did he score so many buckets?
How dominant he was.
So but do we get credit? No one gives him credit, right? No one says he's a GOAT.
That's a good point, though. That's a great point.
Yeah, off of twos.
Yeah, off of twos.
He didn't have the rock, though. He had to get the rock. You know how much time off the clock is that? Back then, when they walked the ball up the floor?
Yeah.
That's a great point.
But that's what I'm saying, the changing of the game. I think we look at it in such a way that it's not possible. And I think by not possible, you all mean for a very, very, very long time. But I'm just looking at the way that the game is being played now and like some of the scores that I'm just like, wait, what? That are scoring now.
Yeah.
That makes me think that it is going to be possible for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to average 30 this year, the next year, like with the style of the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a lot of things that just go into play. Like, you know, in the league, right? They're gonna at some point those guys are gonna be. You got to win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're gonna have to sacrifice. You're gonna have to, and so now it's gonna change the course of you being able to average 30 a game. Right. So it's so many things. Like, and for Brian to be able to go through the way that he's went through it all and play on these teams and do all this and still have the health and be able to reach 40. It's just. We're not going to see that probably.
D-Wade, I'm not denying that this dude is crazy.
Yeah, no,
I'm not denying it.
Crazy.
I think what he's doing night in and night out. I mean, you talk about changing of the guard, of changing his game and adjusting his game. He's shooting almost 40% from 3 this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the amount of time and energy and effort he puts into his body is crazy. I'm just simply saying from like a basketball, you know,
it's possible.
How much is the 3-point game going to change? But it's damn not possible.
It's possible. It's damn. I agree.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because it's a question I was going to ask you. First of all, do you think that you have respect of the men's players to speak on the game?
Do I think I have the respect?
Do you think you have do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, you think about it, it ain't a lot of, in your seat, you have that seat on TNT you have is a very special seat because it's not a lot of women who has that role to speak on the game like that. And I was going to ask you personally, I know how I feel, but do you feel like you have the respect of the men's game to say, yeah, what she's saying about our game, what she's saying about us is right?
I hope so. I think so. And here's the thing with respect. I think your opinion or you agreeing with what I see may not always be aligned, but the respect is what you seek because I want to come with facts. Now, do we live in a time where it's like everything's black and white? No, there's gray area as well. Right. But I hope when I come with the black and white facts that I'm coming with tape, I'm coming with reasons, I'm coming with facts. And that's the way I always try to approach it, where I might see something, but I need something else to back it up with what I feel and what I see. But yeah, it's. But
do you feel like you have to do that to get it? Like, Shaq don't have to do that. Shaq just come in and call it G14 classification, and there's. Yes,
but Shaq is an anomaly because we would be on set with him and just argue that you can't just throw somebody the ball and say score. Shaq was him and Kareem probably were, and I wouldn't even put Kareem because Kareem ain't putting people in the basket.
Right, he wasn't putting them in the basket.
Like, Shaq was the only one that was just like, barbecue chicken, throw it to me on the block, you score. Like, we would be on set like, no, that's not how it works for normal people.
Right.
So I feel like Shaq is in a class of his own of just, he says stuff and sees the game in a way that's like, but you were the only one that could do that.
Right, and he sees it that way.
Yes, and he still sees it that way, where I'm just... I'll be looking at him like, you think that you're just supposed to just put him in the basket.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't, no, you're going to have to figure out how to put him in the basket.
Yeah.
Shaq doesn't see it that way.
Of course you don't. I just look at it. I always thought that you just have a special, I mean, like, it's 8 chairs on TNT and you have one of them. And, you know, not only have you taken it from the in studio, but you've taken it now sideline. And I love your perspective of the game, but I want to know that have you felt that your perspective has been, you know, maybe like, oh, well, she don't know because she's not a man. She hasn't played this game. But, you know, you said you come with facts, you leave with facts, you all those things. So that may not be there. I just want to know because, you know, I don't think no one ever asks, like, how do people view Candace viewing the game? Being that she's one of the only women voices that are speaking on the game the way that she is. You know, she's not reporting on the game. You're sitting there right away giving your analysis of the game of basketball, which you know the game better than anybody. But you know the world we live in, too.
I know the world we live in from a fan's perspective. Fans aren't going to agree with what you say until either you accomplish it or they win a parlay. Those two things.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And... anytime I turn on the TV and they're questioning Patrick Mahomes, or anytime I turn on the TV and they're questioning LeBron James' work ethic, then I'm like, people are stupid, right? So am I paying attention to the stupid people? Or am I...
Say it louder.
Right? Am I paying attention to the stupid people? Or am I coming with facts, coming with my opinion?
Yeah.
I do feel I have the respect of my peers and the players, which is super important to me. I hope I have the respect of the fans because I do come with facts. Now, when I am wrong, I think that's when there's a difference. I'm big on, within the women's game of basketball, I don't think that there's enough scrutiny about our play. Hear me out. Okay. So as a woman, because the game has been attacked so much by people sitting in their basement that can't dunk a donut, let alone a basketball, they're the ones that have driven the narrative that nobody watches women's sports. Women's basketball is terrible. They say all these terrible things as an egg on X, and right? So many people have become protective of the game of basketball that they cannot take criticism, that nobody's allowed to criticize the game. But guess what? I want to criticize on the first morning show. Is D-Wade is he gonna get to the basket? Is he gonna get to the free throw line? Or is he gonna settle for the catch and shoot, which is what the Spurs want y'all to do, right? But you can't do that in the women's game. But there's also a line where if a woman makes a mistake, then they're like, go make a sandwich in the kitchen, go do this. I'm cool if you attack my words and my play and my facts. But when you start attacking what I should be doing of making sandwiches and being in the kitchen, to me, it's like, that is crazy. And then just being completely honest, when I go to it and I see that it's a black man that's doing this, but then the next tweet that they're making is about how black people need to be seen in this light and not be told to go back and shut up and dribble. That's the thing that pisses me off the most, because you want to see it when you're in the minority, but you don't want to see it when you're actually the one that can promote change and actually be a voice of attacking what I say. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So attack the fact that I was wrong about Cleveland, and Cleveland actually is number 2 or number 3 in the East, and Don't attack that I need to go back to my 9 to 5 of making a deli sandwich. You know?
No, I get it.
So that is where I know I got off topic, but that's where I feel is the biggest difference. Like, Stephen A can sit up there and they're never going to attack him being black because that's off topic. But me, they'll attack me being a woman and go back to playing your role. Right. Even though Stephen A has never dribbled the basketball in the NBA.
Too. That's lazy.
Yes, but criticism. It's allowed. It's allowed because it's like the woman topic, I think, especially now with the way sports are going and how that's going to be something that in 15, 20 years, people are going to get canceled for. When you look back because think about how many people were canceled because of race in 2020, 2021. There are so many podcasts and X and that say stuff that are it's so just negative against women and sexist, but it's not looked at in that light. And that's not carried into our culture today, because it's like, you can do that. And I feel like now we're at a point, I hope with this generation, that is like, no, like we're not gonna be allowed to do that.
You know, I think it's one topic that, I mean, you just said something that kind of took my mind to what I've said a lot about the Black community, about the African American community is, you know, we are a community who feel like we haven't had a voice and we haven't been accepted, and we all the things. And in the midst of that, when I look out and most of the hate that our family received for supporting our daughter, Zaya, is coming from the same community, right? The same community that, you know, wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to have opportunities, want all these things. We're looking at another community and we're looking down on that community, and we're the loudest ones that, you know, is trying to, you know, talk about the LGBT community. And it's like, but we're fighting we want to be seen, we want to be accepted. This community is doing the same thing, but we're the loudest ones to say, you know, it's not like pushing them back. Like, no, don't get in front of us, you know. And I hate that. I hate the fact that on one side, you know, we will protest and we will say all these things, and then on the other side, we're gonna talk about another community. We're gonna, you know what I mean? We're gonna try to hush another community, but it's like, bro, like, we know what that feels like. We know that we haven't been able to constantly grow the way we want to because of those things, but we're gonna do the same thing. It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense, and it's interesting when it's the oppressed and the oppressor, but then in some communities, you have the opportunity to be both in different situations. Mm-hmm. And as Black men, you can be the oppressed and the oppressor. And as white women, you can be the oppressed and the oppressor. I don't really have that choice. And I always tell everybody, like, I check pretty much a lot of boxes, as does your family, right? And you're right. I think that there's a way where people stand up and say these things, but don't understand how powerful and hurtful, like, attack my opinions, attack what I say, don't attack my character or who I am or who I choose to go home to or the kids I'm raising. Like, don't attack that. Yeah. And I think you're right. There are certain communities that want to play both sides when it's convenient.
How much does that affect you when people are attacking? I mean, as someone who's, you know, you have a public life, even though you have a private life, it's still public and people can comment on your life publicly. How much does that affect you and or your family?
Not anymore. I think initially it did a lot.
Yeah.
It did a lot. It really did. Because you are trying to be okay with yourself and what you're choosing in your life choices. And then you add on top of that other people's opinions of you. But also, D Wade, like, let's not steer around this. We get into the why. I didn't want to fit into the box of what a WNBA player was. Right? Like, a lot of times you're brought up and it's like the WNBA, the entire WNBA is gay. Like, that's just what they are. Like, da-da-da-da. And it's like, okay, but are we understanding the individuals and the people and that there's other things outside of that? I didn't want to fit into that box for a very long time. And so I think that part of that reasoning was because of what the world would do.
Definitely.
You know, we've had numerous conversations about this. And at the end of the day, I choose to not let that impact my decisions and who I am and who I go home to and how much I genuinely enjoy being around my family and the people I love. And so, yeah, well, I chuckle at a comment or whatever and just be like, man, that person is really, you know, I feel bad for that person. Yeah. Yes, but then, you know, you say a little too much.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to respect the Chicago in me. I'm going to have to come off this TNT set. Exactly. So, it's, yeah.
Was that, okay, so you've grown to that point, obviously now. Like, the growth is beautiful. But I'm sure early on, right, early in you and An's relationship, was that a part of the thought process? Was, I'm falling in love, you know, with this woman, and it's a perception already out there about us. I don't. Was it a part of you like, no, I don't want to love this person because of that perception?
1,000%. I mean, we check every box not to be together. Yeah, think about it. Like, she's Russian, we in America, like Black, white. I mean, all of the above. We both women, like, we check every single box. So there were so many times where it was like, is this worth it? You know, and every single time we'd ask ourselves that, we would always say yes. And I can't tell my daughter to follow her heart and her love and do what makes her happy if I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And I know we've had so many conversations, but also, I think as a little sister, I've been so proud of the example that you've set for Black men, because it's important to set those examples, because you don't know who is looking at you for advice, who is looking at you as an example, and not just you're unbelievable basketball player, Hall of Fame, so proud of that. But it's also changing the mentality and the perceptions of relationships that are important. And for me, I think it is a little bit of okay, we didn't expect Candace to be like this. Okay, there's so many moms that have come up to me and had conversations about their daughters that there was a couple that came up to me in Indy and was asking me about like, you know, we want to come out, but we don't know if it's the right time. Like there's so many people that are battling secret battles that you don't know how much you're really impacting that. Yeah. And so I think just from me looking at you and you as an NBA player, that's a lot. That in itself has its perceptions of what you're masculine. Like you're supposed to be masculine. You're supposed to be all these things. You're supposed to handle yourself this way. You're not supposed to paint your nails. Like exactly.
No manicure, pedicure.
But why? Right?
Exactly.
Why? And that's what I had to ask myself. Like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to please all these other people. Yeah. So we've grown into that for sure.
Yeah, you've grown into that. I mean, obviously we all have, right? Like we come from a world, we come from communities and things that we heard that, it doesn't make us want to just go out and do it. But ultimately, you know, when you love someone, when you love something, you know, you're gonna give your all to it because that's who you are. You're an all in type person when it gets to love. And so I love it. You know, I love, you know, obviously I felt like I was one of the ones that got a chance to see you and An's love before the world was exposed to it, which was beautiful, you know, to see because it was just for you guys. And I don't think people understand in the light that we live in, you don't have a lot of moments where you can really be kind of things in your life that are off the grid and away from everyone's, comments, etc. And so when you were able to have that moment, I'm a little jealous that you had that time where it was just about you guys and it was just about your family. And it was great for Layla, you know what I mean? That you guys had that before the world had a chance to now jump in on whatever
and tell and express their opinions. And, you know, I guess my question to you is, because people always ask me, like, do you see yourself as an example? Like, did you start off seeing yourself as an example or an opportunity? Or was it just, this is how I have to love my children?
Yeah, it was that. It was really, it's all about, you know, my kids. You know, I always tell people all the time, I'm so in love with my kids. They all got the best versions of me, the ones I'm still searching for. But it had nothing to do with nothing but, you know, just being there and being what you are. You're a protector, you're a provider, you're all these things to your kids. And so we live in this public world where, you know, publicly you have to protect, you know, at the same time. And so mine was, I wanted my child to not have to, you know, go through life and what if. I wanted my child to go through life and just to feel that she can do anything in this world. You know, we talk to our kids about, you know, having no boundaries. And as parents, we put boundaries on them because of the boundaries that was put on us. And so I didn't want to put any I worked hard to kind of erase boundaries to allow them to go out and create the life they want. Why would I put that boundary on you? Because it's something I don't understand. Right. And so for me, the first thing was like, okay, outside of all this, Candace, I got to get to understand because I obviously I don't. Right. And now I got to get to the point where my daughter's so comfortable with me that she can help me understand at the same time. And so it was so much work that needed to be done as a parent that I had to do. Forget the world. I had to do so much work when it came to like how I showed up. I thought I was doing a good parenting job, but I realized I didn't know enough about my child, or my child didn't feel comfortable enough for me to know a lot about. And I'm a present father, and so, you know. But now, yes, we go around the world and we meet so many kids, we meet so many families that are appreciative of the moments when we speak out and we stand up, and you know we celebrate, you know, our daughter in our community.
I love that because sometimes when you support, you think you're supporting in a way that is going to benefit your daughter. But to know and to learn and to try to grow to be better for them, I think that that's what is super special. You know, I just remember feeling so much support from my family. And even though it wasn't considered a big thing in the world, like, right? Like people they're in same-sex relationships all the time, but it was a big deal for me because for so long I felt like I was letting myself down, my family down. And why would you want to feel like that when this is one of the best moments of your life? Like I love somebody, right? You know? And yeah, I think it's just honestly my daughter as well who made me see that this is normal. This is her normal.
This is her
and we
normal.
focus so much on like what's normal, but it's like, what about our normal?
Right.
Like we can make this our normal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest thing. I learned so much from her. So similar to how you're learning from your daughter, I learned that
everything don't look like the sitcoms.
It doesn't, and it doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to look like the sitcoms.
But I love my life. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my wife and my kids. And I just got to a point where it was like, I'm okay in this space.
Yeah. And I mean, we can talk for hours, and we're going to do another part 2 and another time, and part 3. But at this point, knowing all that, obviously, we touched on sports just to give some of the fans a little background on Candace Parker, but you guys can Google all that. I think this interview is about getting to the person, getting to how you think about things. And how I want to end it is how I always end it is, what's your why, Candace? All the things you've accomplished, all the things that you've set out to accomplish, you've done a lot of them, I'm sure. So as you sit here now and you're, however more years you want to play in the game of basketball, the businesswoman you are, the things you do in the community, shout out to the 3 Strike for the things that you guys do together. What is your why at this point and going forward?
I had like a whole thing, and then now I'm like, that's not my why. I can't. I think my why is any environment or any situation I go into, I want to leave better.
Mm-hmm.
And that has always been my purpose. My why is my people and my passions. I love my people hard. And I love chasing my passions. And I think because of that, like that's my why. So through those 2 things, I think in any situation after basketball, whatever it is, I hope to leave it better. So that's my why.
That's your why. Well, I go on record to say this to my people all the time, but my GOAT, Candace Parker, thank you for taking the time and just sitting and having a conversation.
D-Wade, I love you, man. You know that.
I appreciate you. Everybody, my GOAT, Candace Parker.
I love D-Wade. You're the best.